Before we begin today's video, I'd like to verbally thank my patrons, especially those donating $10 or more monthly, such as Alex Vanderwood, CeeLo, Anatoly Volnov, Andrew Melnick, Silver Silence, Wolf HD, Young Master Pig, Missing a Tile, Darius Fazier, Almost Dead Again, James Phillips, Vladimir Znodholm, Colin Gajic, Jano, Big Time Jim, Fralum, Mixer Rules, Duncan Bristow, Cooper Sutton, Fockhead, Money and Muses, Corbet Godwin, J.P. De La Torre, and John Strange. This week's game, I'll admit, did not give me as much material for a video as I thought it would, so while it is short, it is densely packed, I promise. I'm hoping to get more material from Max Payne 2 and 3 in a couple of weeks, but if there's not much material in them, I'll combine both games into one video. Thank you. Max Payne is weird. I've never really played the Max Payne games before. I heard that they played with the cliches of noir thrillers, and that, in doing so, they occasionally got a bit meta. When it comes to Max Payne 1, that's pretty much all I knew. After finishing the first game, I was just left confused. I understood the plot and all of that, I appreciated the tone they had built, and I had gotten pretty comfortable with the gameplay, but one big question was left unanswered to me. The spoilers are coming out in full force in this video, so head out now if you care. Back to that question, why didn't the game lean harder into the whole I was in a computer game thing? About 2/3 of the way through, Max is injected with an OD of a drug called Valkyr, and in the midst of his trip, he finds a note from his wife explaining that he's in a video game, and he reflects on how he could swear he saw HUD elements floating out of the corner of his eye, and how time seemed to slow down whenever he looked cool, and how it felt like someone was controlling him. Well, aside from a couple small things that range from Easter eggs to me just plain reaching, this is pretty much the only time in the game that any of this stuff is brought up. After the Valkyr wears off, nobody mentions anything related to video games again. Well, why is this? If I were making a game where the player character saw through the illusion, I'd go full Metal Gear Solid 2 and let that revelation slowly consume the entire literal narrative. Max Payne, however, just drops that bombshell and moves on. Why? A question like that can only ever be answered by looking at what sort of themes the rest of the game is going for. Maybe this whole I'm in a video game thing isn't so disconnected from the narrative after all. As I said in the beginning, it's no secret that Max Payne plays off the cliches of noir. What exactly is noir? Does it just describe something about grizzled, loose-cannon detectives speaking in a language of metaphors? Not quite. According to Google, noir is a genre of crime film or fiction characterized by cynicism, fatalism, and moral ambiguity. Cynicism? Check. Max ultimately gets arrested for his work at the end of the game. Moral ambiguity? In spades. I mean, it's not like every one of these goons is some orphan-kicking monster like the big baddies. Plus, Max even gets a couple of straight-up civilians killed. How about fatalism? Well, that's the interesting part. Max, at one point, says,
"Nothing is a cliché when it's happening to you."
And, well, that's where he's wrong. Max's story couldn't possibly be more cliched. Not only does it borrow from the cliches of noir fiction, as listed above, but it also borrows heavily from the cliches of video games. Like so many other games, it's about you beating down a bunch of goons only to realize by the end that these crimes go all the way up to some huge government conspiracy, at the heart of which lies something involving your character's once normal life. Bonus points for that government conspiracy involving a new experimental drug, and even more bonus points for making the climax of the game take place on a high-rise. Pair this with the simple fact that the entire game is being told retrospectively by Max, and that fatalism starts to become pretty apparent. In the beginning of the game, we get to see a piece of how the story ends, but even without that, most people probably could have predicted it after the first hour. Of course we're going to work our way up the chain of command until we realize this is all a massive conspiracy. Most of us have played more than enough games to know how this song goes. And this isn't one of those situations where all of those things are cliché nowadays because Max Payne set the trends. These clichés absolutely predate this game. I mean, that plot summary is practically the gaming equivalent of the hero's journey. Well, it's around the time that Max says that line about clichés only existing in fiction that, in my opinion, he starts to realize the predicament he's in. He's trapped in the clichés of a video game and those of noir fiction. He already knows how this story is going to end. He's seen it a million times in the movies and the dime store thrillers. He's going to bullet time dodge his way up to the top of some high-rise and take down the big baddie who started all of this. Let's look at that line again, this time allowing Max to finish his thought.
"I was in a computer game. Funny as hell, it was the most horrible thing I could think of."
Interesting that he finds it so horrifying. It's easy to see this as liberating for me. Oh nice, this is just a video game. I'm going to be the Max Payne that survives because the player can just quick load and make me forget all the pain. I'll never truly die and I'll get the baddie at the end. Sounds like a pretty good deal, but there's another side to that. I'm never going to experience a life where I'm not getting shot at, am I? I might ride off into some sunset once or twice, but at some point those jerks at Remedy are going to make a sequel. Time will jump forward a bit, and I'll be right back where I am now with a gun in my hand. Hell, I'd be lucky to get a scene at the beginning of Max Payne 2 where everything is going fine before things go to hell again. This is a lot like what I was talking about in my first Metal Gear Solid 3 video. Max only exists in action games, which means that he's only ever going to exist when some game director out there wants him to shoot somebody. Like all characters, he's a tool of the author. In Max's case, that tool is a gun. There may be a happy ending to Max Payne games, but there is no happy ending for Max Payne. I think we all assumed that the game's title was referring to what Max would be putting his enemies through. Well, I can't think of a pain more Max than realizing that you're only ever going to exist when your god wants you to be shot at and beaten with a baseball bat. Well, after all that, I guess Max Payne is a pretty apt title. I look forward to seeing how much worse the pain gets in the sequel.